Hi guys, welcome to this video on sleep improvement. I don't know if you know, but 1/3 of the people in the UK suffers from poor sleep. Maybe that's you, maybe you know someone, you probably do know someone who suffers from poor sleep. So this video is going to be about the general impacts of poor sleep. We'll look at some specific impacts on sporting performance, and then we'll talk about what can be done about poor sleep. Let's take a look. So briefly then, let's begin with what the general impact of poor sleep is. And I've kind of put these in order of severity, beginning with sort of more mild and less significant impacts to ones that might be a bit more serious. And essentially, the worse the quality of the sleep or the worse the wrong quantity of sleep, we're going to move towards some of the things later on this list. So initially, you'll know if you don't get great sleep, you'll suffer from tiredness, perhaps fatigue will kick in a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 nights without good sleep. This is what you're going to start to experience. Maybe some aching muscles as well because you're not getting sufficient rest. Dizziness would come a little bit after this, headaches perhaps, nausea. You might even suffer from a lack of alertness, so you've not got enough sleep, you've not rested well enough, the sleep's been poor, and maybe you're making mistakes. You're making mistakes in your speech, making mistakes in your work, whatever kind of work that might be, misjudgments, that sort of thing. Also, moving on then, so poor sleep can have an impact in terms of hormone balance. So in particular for men, low testosterone might be an issue or might become an issue if we have poor sleep over an extended period of time. Memory lapse and or memory loss, again, so increasingly problematic issues here from poor sleep. Obesity is linked to poor sleep. Heart conditions of various sorts, and also type 2 diabetes. So we move from the less severe to the more severe, but all of these are potential impacts from poor sleep. So moving then to sports performance, how can poor sleep impact sports performance? I'm going to focus in on one particular fairly well-known study that was conducted a little while ago now, which is known as the Stanford Basketball Study. The Stanford Basketball Study, conducted by or published in 2011 by Ma et al. So Ma and colleagues. And they summarized essentially their findings with this statement. Athletes may be able to optimize training and competition outcomes by identifying strategies to maximize the benefits of sleep. So what they're saying is that if you can maximize how good your sleep is, if you can get good quality sleep, it's going to have a big impact in terms of training and competition outcomes. So winning is the point, really. So better sleep has a significant impact, and I'll show you in just a moment the size of the impact, has a significant impact on the performance outcomes, the training and competition outcomes. So in this study that they published in 2011, they found, as far as sprints are concerned for basketball players, they found an improvement in sprint speed of 4.5%. So 4.5% faster in terms of sprints. Up to 9% improvement in free throw percentage accuracy for 3 points. Obviously up to 9.2%. So these are enormous gains. These are enormous improvements. When we're talking about elite sport in particular, where we often think in terms of marginal gains, these sorts of gains are way more than marginal. These are sometimes can be the difference between winning and losing. And then they also found in terms of reaction time, alertness, and just general mood states that these were all improved for those that had better sleep from within the study. So an enormous range of sports performance impacts or sports performance benefits from getting quality sleep. So what are the lifestyle benefits then? So we've talked about the performance benefits of getting good sleep as opposed to poor sleep. Significant impacts for performance, but what about lifestyle benefits? The first thing to note is that, and I'll go through these fairly quickly, you can kind of add flesh on the bones to some of these things if you'd like to. So mood management, you generally speaking feel more positive, feel more light, feel more switched on, and generally your well-being tends to be better if you've had good sleep. Cardiovascular health can be improved from proper sleep or effective or good sleep. Alertness, awareness, reaction time, as we've just seen in the Stanford Basketball Study, are all improved from good sleep. Weight management as well. It actually is easier to manage and monitor your own weight levels if you have good sleep, and that's partly due to hormonal influences, as we've previously mentioned. Coordination can be improved through good sleep. The speed at which you can recover from injuries is also improved from good sleep. Memory and retention, and then nervous system functions, and obviously those link back to things like memory and retention, coordination, alertness, and so on. So there's a whole raft, a whole range of benefits, psychological benefits, somatic body related benefits, all sorts of benefits, mood related benefits that come from getting good sleep. So it's something that really is a significant impact as far as a lifestyle factor is concerned. So huge lifestyle benefits from good sleep. So let's finish up then, taking a little bit of time to think about what strategies you can employ to improve the quality of your sleep. So I'm taking some of this information from a book called Sleeping with the Best in Sport, recently published by Nick Littlehales. You can find that online. So a nod to him. Thank you for this. I've taken some of his points here in terms of strategies that are useful to improve the quality of our sleep. So the first strategy is to be consistent. And really all of these strategies, the purpose of all these strategies is to enable our body's natural rhythms, our natural sleep-wake rhythms, to keep ourselves from hampering or damaging our natural sleep-wake cycles. So one way that we can help our body with that, and those rhythms are known as circadian rhythms, but one way that we can help our body with that is to be consistent about our bedtimes and our waking. So our sleep-wake routine should be as consistent as we can possibly make it. So as much as you possibly can. And life gets in the way sometimes. Sometimes there's an event on that you want to watch on TV or something like that. That happens. But sleep-wake routines, as much as possible, try to keep them as consistent as you can, and your body can grow into a bit of a routine, and it gets to know when it's time to fall to sleep and when it's time to wake up, and so on. Secondly, it's really important to get some natural light. And so as much as possible, if you can get outside during the day, and you should do this daily. And again, if possible, you may work night shifts or what have you. But if it's possible, get out during the midday to experience some natural light. It doesn't have to be bright sunshine or anything like that, but just light, because light helps the body to regulate hormones that then have a knock-on impact to our sleepiness and our alertness and awakeness. And so that's going to help us manage our sleep-wake patterns as well. So be consistent, get some natural light, and also nap. Napping is really helpful, again, in managing our sleepiness and our wakefulness, certainly in the early afternoon. And napping has been shown to have huge benefits in terms of our performance, both in our life but also in sport, in the afternoon. So if you can take a nap, and it's recommended that you don't nap for too long, because you can, if you get into too deep a sleep, it can make you quite groggy then when you wake up for the afternoon. But if you can take a nap, you should probably be carving out about half an hour sometime in the early afternoon for about a 20-minute nap if you can. So if you carve out about half an hour, you got a few minutes to fall off to sleep. You can have 20 minutes sleep and then a few minutes to kind of get yourself back together, ready to continue with your day. So as much as possible, 20 minutes early afternoon, probably looking at somewhere between 1 o'clock and certainly no later than about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, that's going to fit into whether you're an early riser or a night owl as to when that nap is going to be most suitable for you. But try it, give it a go. Next, it's important to unwind before bed. That is before you go to bed for your main evening or night sleep. And so there's certain things that it's wise to avoid. Again, I don't want to make any kind of hard and fast rules about this sort of thing, but it's wise to avoid things like eating too late. Certainly try not to consume caffeine too late in the evening, because obviously caffeine is a stimulant, and so it's going to affect or influence or really kind of hamper your sleepiness. Exercise also. Exercise doesn't have too much of an impact. Depends on what kind of exercise it is that you've been doing. but probably best to avoid it if you can just before bed. And also try and avoid blue light, so try and avoid looking at screens, particularly your phone screen, because that can have a negative impact on kind of your body's ability to feel sleepy. You want to feel sleepy before you fall off to sleep. That's kind of the point. And then finally, and in a little bit more detail on this one, it's important to manage your environment, manage the environment in which you're going to sleep. Okay, so first thing to think about here is the curtains that you use. As much as possible, you want to try and have curtains that shut out as much light as you possibly can. And it's not particularly fashionable to have thick curtains these days, but they are helpful. You might have blackout blinds or something like that that are really useful to manage the amount of light, because again, light has an impact on the quality of your sleep. Your melatonin, that hormone that manages for you your sleepiness, is impacted and influenced by the light that in the environment. So if you've got good solid curtains that can black out a good amount of light, then you're setting yourself up for a good night's sleep. Important to have a good pillow and a good mattress. The pillow is really important, in particular for managing neck pain and back pain and things like that. Ideally, especially if you sleep on your side, which a lot of people do, then the pillow is really helpful because it elevates the head somewhat, and you can kind of curl yourself into the fetal position, which is generally regarded as the best position to sleep in. As far as the mattress is concerned, it needs to be soft enough to mold a little bit to your body shape. Obviously, we all have our preferences. I generally prefer a slightly firmer mattress, other people may prefer softer mattresses, but it should be soft enough to mold a little bit to your body shape, because you need to be comfortable in order to fall off to sleep. In terms of duvets, similar. The main thing you want to think about in terms of your duvet is how warm it's going to keep you. You don't want to be so warm that you're sweating, but you also don't want to be too cold. So it's common practice, you probably are aware, it's common practice to have two duvets and switch them. It depends, I suppose, where you are in the world, to have a winter duvet and a summer duvet and switch depending on the general atmospheric temperature. So not too cold so that you can't fall asleep, but not so hot that you're sweating. And that may be a conversation if you have a partner and they've got very different preferences. That's going to be a bit of a tricky conversation, but it's one that needs to be had. In terms of temperature, as I've mentioned, the temperature of the room overall should be a little bit lower than standard room, sort of everyday daytime temperature. So we usually have our rooms sort of in offices and schools, they tend to be around about 19, 20, 21 degrees. At least they do here in the UK, roughly 20 degrees. Your sleeping room should be slightly cooler than that, ideally somewhere between 16 and 18 degrees, because the temperature, just like, or to some extent similar at least, to the way that light influences sleepiness, temperature can also have an impact on sleepiness as well. So in terms of then the room in which you sleep, it's important that your room is for sleeping. So the room in which you sleep should be for sleeping. So my advice would be, don't turn it into something else. Don't turn it into a study. Don't turn it into a cinema room or what have you. And in that room, as much as possible, you should keep screens away from that room, because we all know, we've all been tempted to do it, I'm sure. You've got your phone, and your phone's your alarm clock, but you can't just use it as an alarm clock. You wake up in the morning, you're straight on your phone, or you're going to sleep at night and you're scrolling on social media or whatever it is. That's to be avoided as much as possible. Maybe even you might want to go as far as getting yourself an alarm clock and plugging your phone in downstairs overnight. Then you're not tempted to be looking at it late into the night. You've got the blue light then that's keeping your body's natural rhythms from letting you fall asleep, from getting sleepy. So if you can, plug your phone in downstairs, charge it downstairs, get a wind up alarm clock, something like that if you possibly can. Maybe that's going too far for some of us, but I'll leave that with you. In terms of noise as well, it's important as much as possible. I know it depends on where you live and kind of the ambient noise around you. If you can possibly remove any noise that is going to be intrusive, aggressive noises like traffic noise, or snoring, that sort of thing, then you should try and cut that out as much as possible. Okay, so try if you can to sleep in a room that's the quieter of the rooms in your house. You may not have that option, that's fine. So in terms of noise, you could introduce what's known as white noise, and some people have done that, and there's various options. You can get white noise machines to play white noise in the background that can help you fall to sleep. I personally don't bother with that sort of thing because the room that I sleep in is nice and quiet. So those are some strategies to improve sleep. Again, just to remind you that a lot of this stuff comes from Nick Littlehales, and you can find lots of his stuff online if you want any more clarity on this. But that's it for now. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video. Please do subscribe. It's massively helpful for me. Leave any comments or thoughts in the comments section below, and I'll try and get back to you. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you in the next video.